Welcome everybody to episode 6 of Byte Size Azure. For this episode we are going to be looking at something that I wish was available when I was working with SharePoint a few years ago, and that's terms of use policies. In effect, what this does is it forces users to accept a document prior to accessing certain components of Office 365. Now, to demo this, we're going to need to pop into the Azure portal as usual for these. And once into the Azure portal, we're going to pop into the Azure AD blade and scroll down on the left until we find Identity Governance. And then we select that. And when that blade has loaded, we scroll down again until we find Terms of Use at the bottom. And we click on that. Once this screen loads up, you'll see there's no terms in there currently. We can then select the new terms and that pops into the term screen. And we'll give this a name, and as I'm very imaginative, we'll just call this SharePoint Terms of Use, but obviously with the correct casing of SharePoint. We'll upload a document, and I've got one pre-created here with a PDF document. You're going to select a language and a name for that language. Now at this point we can set some configuration values. So we can say require users to expand this terms of use. So therefore we have to, we prompt them to actually, in theory at least, read the full document. So we're going to select that to on. And we've got the option then to require users to consent on every device. Now that means that, for example, if I access on mobile, they'll request it. And then if I access on desktop again, they'll request it. But for the demo, I'm going to stick that to off. And again, we've got the option to expire content and to re-accept at various intervals. So the example is 90 days. Now we scroll down and you can see there's a conditional access box here. Now there's two options here. One is to use a policy template that already exists. And the second option is to use a custom conditional access policy, which we create later on. So I'm going to select that option and I'm going to select create. Now this only takes a few seconds to create. And you can see that it's done and it shows up now in the list of terms of use items. Now, but this won't show up for users as it stands at the moment. We actually have to now go and create that conditional access policy in order for that to be prompted to users. So again, we go to the Azure AD blade, scroll down on the left until we get to security, and then we select conditional access at the top of the menu. Now from here, we go to new policy, and we'll give this policy a name. So again, with my imaginative naming conventions, we're just going to call this SharePoint Terms of Use policy. The next step is to select users. And I'm going to apply this to all users, but I'm going to add some exclusions because I'm recording this on Teams, and this then causes some issues with me if I put my account, for example, in the include options. So we're going to select users and groups, and I'm going to exclude two groups from this policy at the moment. So my personal account and my admin account that I will be doing for this demo. So once those are done, I clicked OK, and those users are now excluded from this policy. Now we go and select the cloud apps that we want to apply this to. Now again, we've got this standard exclusion policies here, but I'm going to select all cloud apps. Typically, you'd probably select an individual one. So for example, we can select SharePoint, and this then would only apply to people accessing SharePoint. But for demo purposes, I'm just going to keep it to all cloud apps. Makes it slightly easier. We're not going to configure any of the other settings, and we're just going to pop down the bottom to this grant option. And again, if we scroll all the way down on the right, you'll see SharePoint Terms of Use. So we select that, and then we select the select button, too many selects. And finally, we just enable the policy. And once that's done, we click on create. Now again, this actually doesn't take too long to create, but I found that if you go and try this policy straight away, you get a slightly weird error message. So we just need to wait a few minutes before we pop into a browser session and test this out. So open up a separate browser and we just go into portal.office.com and select an account that we're going to log in as. Okay, pop in the password. And you'll see that we're actually being redirected just by looking at the URL. And here we go, we've now got our SharePoint terms of use. And you'll see there's a little arrow button there to expand this. And you'll also notice that it is just a plain PDF with some lorem ipsum text in there. So if we scroll to the bottom, click on the accept button, and we will now be redirected back into the standard Office portal. And there you go. That is an example of using a terms of use policy, enabling it via a conditional access policy for those particular users. So I hope that was informative and of use. If you liked it, please feel free to leave a like or a comment. And alternatively, you can subscribe to the channel for updates when new episodes are launched. Thank you very much.